It's time for Grizz Beat, a full-court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
Hey, Grizz fam, welcome to 191 Beale Street. That is the home of Grind City Media and Grizz Beat. I'm your host, Jarvis Greer. It's you saw the blue sky outside. First time we'll be above freezing. Geez, I guess since about last week sometime, but it's going to be red hot in the studio. As always, we got some great guests for you. Starting off, looking to my left here, we have the one and only, the man of the 50 million word count article in the Daily Memphian, the great Chris Harrington, who is coming down from Minneapolis. Where is it warmer up there than it is here right now?
This morning it was. This morning it was warmer in St. Paul, Minnesota than it was in Memphis. That's not why I came down here. So I was not happy about that.
Yeah. You want to see the warm,
that's right.
Friendly temperatures.
I wanted balmy Memphis, not cold Memphis.
Yeah, well, right now you're getting cold Memphis. Somebody who's cold-blooded in his own right, the great Michael Wallace, who was the guru of Grind City Media. You've been on the road with the Grizzlies for a while and seen some great games out of this the squad.
No question about it. I mean, they had that 11-game stretch where they were going against playoff or play-in caliber teams, and they came back with a 6-5 sort of quasi-winning record. They're holding their own, man, and I'm trying to beat this cold too, man. I don't like these temperatures right here, now.
No. It's gonna warm up though. We're gonna get back in the 50s as the week goes on. Of course, the Grizz got a big homestand coming up here at FedEx Forum. We had a great crowd at MLK Day, and now we hope to have some of those crowds coming back inside the Forum this week. 4 games in a row, and a big opportunity to try to get some wins. Keep stacking them together here. Maybe have a chance to move up in the standings, including we got the big game coming up tonight when the Charlotte Hornets come into Memphis. They are the next up for the Grizz. The Hornets come in on a season-long 3-game winning streak, although they're toward the bottom of the standings in the East. But, the quality of their competition may not have been that great, but they are starting to figure out how to win a little bit. LaMelo Ball is the one for Charlotte. He is the main man on the Hornets roster. Wow, look at that. 1.9 million votes. He leads the Eastern Conference guards in all-star voting, and boy, he's a showman. The Hornets swept 2-game series last season with the Grizz. That was the throwaway year. We all know what happened there when the Grizzlies didn't really have anybody in the roster that wasn't, I would say, it was a non-healthy season. We all know about that. But the Grizzlies have won 7 of the last 10. And when you look at it, fellas, look at the graphic there. LaMelo Ball, he's averaging 29 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds per game. And is he all show and no go? Is he what they say through Texas, all hat, no cattle? Because, man, he is an exciting player, but the team really hasn't been able to do anything around him.
Yeah, I think that's probably a little too strong. I wouldn't quite say that, but there's a real disconnect between the numbers he puts up and the impact of winning with Charlotte. He's also missed a lot of games this season.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't be my pick to be the number 1 guard in the East, or my second, or my third, or my 4th, or probably my 5th, actually. But he's having an all-star level season. He's an exciting player, but there's not a real connection between his play and winning basketball games and the way you want to see the number 1 guy in a franchise so far.
Yeah, that's really tough when you look at it. Guru of Grind City Media, the great Michael Wallace. I mean, he came in with all the hype, and of course the Ball family, and of course the dad saying, "No, my kids are the greatest thing ever." He has talent. There is no doubt about it, and the things he can do on the court are otherworldly sometimes. But you get kind of frustrated when the folks there in Charlotte, they used to win when they were in the old Charlotte Coliseum. Since they moved to the new building, they have really been down in the dumps for a while.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been a consistently well-run organization in a long time, right? The basketball decision makers, including Michael Jordan,
right.
Really put this team behind the 8 ball for a long time. They've had some ownership upheaval, which forced this franchise to be sold at the beginning, and now they're trying to put the pieces back together. They have somewhat of a competent front office, but they're dealing from so far at the bottom of the deck in terms of starting over, where you do have a charismatic star. You have a guy. LaMelo Ball is a superstar waiting to happen.
He's a butts and seats guy.
And he's charismatic. He has a great smile. He's social media friendly. Obviously, that's why he's leading the Eastern.
Yeah, 1.9 million votes.
All
Can't
of
argue
these
that.
votes. And frankly, when I saw his stats, I really had to do a double take. I was like, he's averaging almost 30 a game?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that, right? But to Chris's point, he just hasn't been able to stay on the floor consistently. In a lot of ways, sort of like Ja Morant.
Right.
But even less so, it seems like, for LaMelo. But, this team is dynamic. They have some young pieces. They can jump up and bite you if they get to their sort of open court style. Bridges is a guy that can play really, really well, and he plays hard at the 4 spot. Mark Williams is a productive center. And then LaMelo Ball, he's a highlight. I mean, he's a highlight reel no matter what he's doing. So it'll at least be an entertaining game because the Grizzlies want to play at a certain pace to get up and down.
Chris, what worries you about this game coming up tonight? Because the Grizz are on a 3-game streak themselves, and Charlotte looks like they might be finding out how to win a little bit on their current 3-game streak.
I worry about the Grizzlies more than I worry about the Hornets. I think it's easy to say you don't take anyone for granted, you don't take anyone lightly, but it's sort of human nature to ease up a little bit, right? When you see a team across from you that's not having such a good season. That has not been a problem for the Grizzlies this year. There are 8 teams in the league with the winning percentage under 400. Grizzlies are 11-2 against those teams. The only exceptions are the 2 games they've lost to Brooklyn, and they weren't bad when they beat the Grizzlies. That was before they started tanking, before they started trading guys away. So the Grizzlies have generally taken care of business against the lesser teams in the league. And this 3-game homestand, it's a good opportunity to turn a 3-game winning streak into a 6-game winning streak. But an individual NBA game, anything could happen. And so if you take this team lightly, you will lose, or you could lose.
Could there be any hangover from the MLK Day game? It was a 2-point game. The Grizz got the win. They played Gene Bartow, the former Memphis Tigers coach that took them to the Final Four national championship game against UCLA. He said, and I'll always remember this, if you shoot bad, you look bad. It doesn't matter what else you do. You could be playing great defense, but if you shoot badly, you'll look bad. And that's what the Grizzlies did basically in that game, but they were somehow able to pull it out against Minnesota. Will there be any hangover from that, you think, Michael?
I hope not. You know what I mean? Santi was great in San Antonio on
Santi
Friday.
Was awesome, and he was a flamethrower there.
He was the opposite of that on Monday, right?
He turned the water
had some
off.
games recently where Jalen Wells has been feast or famine with his shooting. For the most part, Jaren has been a stabilizer.
Consistent.
We've had sections of the season where Desmond Bane has either been really, really good or not as effective. And then Ja, obviously, his availability has been hit and miss too. So the Grizzlies are capable of having a letdown, but I think the maturity level of where this team gets to in the final 5 minutes of a fourth quarter now is something to be reckoned with. They figure out what they need to do to close games. And it also helps when you're going up against Minnesota because that team also figures out how to give away games, right, at the same time. And they have a penchant for giving away games against the Grizzlies. You can't lose this game against the Charlotte Hornets at home. It can happen, but that's not the type of game you want to lose at home at this stage of your development as the Grizzlies.
When you look at it, the Grizzlies, where they are in the standings, we can take a look at the West right now, where Memphis is in the standings, 3rd in the West with a 28-15 record. I mean, that's one more game than they won all of last season, and we have just passed the halfway point in the long NBA slog here with the Thunder at number 1, 35-7. They're basically just kind of running away with the West right now. You got the Rockets, the Grizzlies, the Nuggets. They're all right there together, and you got the Grizz got to be careful because looking over your shoulder, there's Nikola Jokic and that crew there that they may only have 6 players, but those 6 players, if they're all on the court, are capable of winning a championship, which they did a couple of years ago. So, and then the Clippers are hanging around in there. The Lakers are always going to be the Lakers. And the Mavs, if Luka ever gets healthy, then we'll see what they can do. The Kings are down in the number 8 spot, and the Timberwolves at 22-21, just over 500, along with the Phoenix Suns. And that's it as far as right now going through the number 1 seed all the way through the last team for the play-in. Warriors still there. We could maybe see Steph have an epiphany of some sort, or some of their other guys will come up and help him out. But that's about it as far as the West is concerned. The Grizzlies and the Nuggets kind of scares you. This could be a chance to either jump over the Rockets or put some distance between you and the Nuggets. What do you think, Chris Herrick?
Yeah, I mean, the Grizzlies have a very good chance to get back up ahead of the Rockets and finish 2nd in the West, even though they've lost the tiebreaker, only half a game back. Right. But there's more room to drop than there is to rise because no one's catching OKC. And if you look over your shoulder, Denver's putting it back together. They went through 2 straight summers of losing key players, a team that did not have a lot of depth to start with and really was struggling with their depth. And now Christian Brown in year 3 is taking a real step forward. The Russell Westbrook signing is working really well. And they're building some chemistry around the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. That team might be back. To me, Dallas has sort of been dropping down, but that's because Luka's out. When Luka comes back, that's the same team essentially that was in the Western NBA Finals last season. And I don't really believe in the Clippers, but is there a chance Kawhi Leonard comes back and suddenly you get 2 months of good basketball from him? If that happens, that team could pop up. I don't really think that's going to happen, but I wouldn't discount it either. But Denver and Dallas are like real threats.
Definitely.
There's a competition to see who's going to be the second best team in the West, not just finish second in the regular season, but be the second best team going in the playoffs and have a chance to get out of the playoffs if OKC falters. Denver and Dallas, their hat is in the ring to be that team along with the Grizzlies and the Rockets.
You mentioned, Luka being out. The Grizzlies are starting to get healthier now. We saw Gigi Jackson make his first appearance in the MLK game after playing 3 games down with a hustle. He himself said that he needed time down there to, get his groove back, so to speak, and get a little bit of shape going. What did you think about seeing Gigi coming in there? And man, there's so many roster pieces now to move around. Does he give you a chance to maybe not have to look at the trade deadline so much if he is able to take what he did down in South Haven and regenerate what he did last year when he was in the lineup solely in the back half of the season?
Jarvis, that's a great question, and I think it's a layered question because the first part of the question I was ready to jump in.
I saw you,
and then you
I threw a curve at you.
You tossed in and you threw the curve in there about it impacting the trade. To me, this trade deadline for the Grizzlies will be as much about how do you keep someone away from a team that's right there with you that you might not be able to get by, as it is what do you need to add? I do think that they need to add. I think there's a consolidation trade that needs to happen with this team.
Too many pieces?
It's too many pieces because you're not going to play. I mean, as much as Taylor has done it through the regular season, you're not going to play 11 once you get to first round, second round of the playoffs. It's just not. Those possessions just mean more. And you're going to have fewer of them depending on how you match up in the playoffs. And, it's one of those situations where I do think a consolidation trade will be needed, both for intermediate and for, a little bit longer term. But having said that, Gigi gives you someone in your back pocket that you could say, okay, great, let's have him pick up sort of where he left off before. I thought it was interesting in the locker room afterwards, though, for as much encouragement as we got from Gigi and what he saw, he's been ready to talk. He talked today at shoot-around. But after that game on MLK, John Morant wouldn't let him talk.
He wouldn't.
John Morant said, nah, my young guy's good. Y'all leave him alone. And Gigi was sitting there expecting to talk.
Right.
And he acquiesced to Ja. And he said, all right, let me go. And to me, that was Ja saying, don't take on too much too soon. Kind of measure this thing. But if I could go real quick back to those standings, I will say this. Dallas is in trouble because we just got reports that Derek Lively is out for 2 months now.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So that's big.
That's a big blow.
Gafford kind of was in his feelings about his role and how he was being used recently. But I do think that this 3-game, the rest of this 4-game homestand gives the Grizzlies a chance to put the pressure back on Houston, even though they're going to have to finish a game ahead of Houston in order to do it. But Denver's right there. Peyton Watson is also another guy that's been playing well, as Chris mentioned, the rest of those guys. So it's going to be intriguing to see what happens over these next 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, there's so many things that can happen with guys coming in and coming out. Could Ja play 5 games in a row?
I don't. Just to get back to your question, the trade deadline is a big topic. We could go all over the place, but I'll keep it narrow to your question about Gigi. Right. I don't think Gigi's return is going to have any influence on what the Grizzlies do or don't do at the trade deadline. To the degree the current roster does, the same kind of thing does, I think it's more Marcus Smart and Vince Williams Jr.
Okay.
What do they think? What do they really believe they're going to get from those guys going forward or going into playoff basketball? Gigi, anything could happen, but I don't think they're counting on Gigi for playoff basketball this season. I think, this team was constructed around the idea of Marcus Smart and Vince Williams being important players in playoff basketball, I think.
Well, but I guess one thing on that, Marcus Smart, the Grizzle veteran, knows how to play playoff basketball, but he's got
to play.
Yeah, he's got to be able to get that finger set. And we look at what he's still week to week, but it's been, 2 weeks now. So maybe we could see him next week.
2 months.
It's been it's been a while.
You say 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been. I got my weeks and months. We had so many guys in and out. But Vince, could be. He's been ramped up more and more. And Vince is still on his rookie deal. So you pay him Marcus Smart. You're not having to pay Vince as much. Could that, go into the conversation about which one we keep?
I think there's a real question about how they still feel about Marcus Smart as part of this team, not only this season, but going into next season under his contract. I don't know what the answer to that is, but that's something internally they have to think about in the context of what they may or will or won't do at the trade deadline.
And I said that because Jaren is coming up, for his next deal.
Re-up, yeah.
And that's going to be a big one. And you got to have the money to pay him. And, if you got a guy on a rookie deal, I suppose. But Jaren has been the consistent piece for the Grizzlies all season. And he is definitely an all-star in my book. I mean, just look what he's done. Western Conference Defensive Player of the Month for December. This is making the all-star case for him, and I think he's a lock. He's one of 3 players in the NBA to lead the team in total points, steals, and blocks. You put that on a team that's third in the West, in the upper half of the Western Conference. That's got to be a big plus for you. And he started 40 straight games to lead the third-place Grizzlies in the West. Jaren Jackson Jr. Tripp, he said himself, we have had call 12, we had call 13 in the MLK Day game. 15 points in the fourth quarter to help the Grizz pull that game out. And both Taylor Jenkins and John Morant talked about Tripp after the game.
Taylor, how much have you seen Jaren sort of grow in these closing moments? Obviously, he had, I think, 15 of his 24 in the fourth quarter, but also the rebounding as well. But particularly in the closing moments with him being comfortable in that spot.
It's big time. I mean, I think when I've got a number of guys that can make an impact on both sides of the floor late in the game, I mean, he's definitely a guy that's shown that over the years. But his progress and development on the offensive side, to be able to throw him the ball, decision maker, big time bucket, in the post. Using him as a screener a little bit, at different times based off of certain matchups, and then defensively, what you're going to get from him. He's going to block shots. I mean, his communication, I think he played 12 straight minutes maybe there, maybe even more to finish the game. His communication was great. I could see the attention to detail, with his off-ball defense being a big driver of our success to get those stops late in the game. So, two-way player, he's a lead at it, and obviously had a huge impact in our success tonight.
Y'all tweet about it every day, man. It's Jaren. The franchise. That's what he means to the team.
Why should he should be an all-star this year?
I think there's no question. I mean, any other time, they base it off, seeding and all this. Like, this guy shouldn't get it because this guy this and they conference, and now that shit go out the window when it comes to us. So, yeah, I'm pushing for him to be all-star. I think he absolutely deserves it. He's been playing at an all-NBA level, if we actually being honest. And, he got us in a position, we're in now. One of the most healthiest guys on the team, and he brings it every night on both ends.
Definitely bringing it on both ends of the floor. And that's one thing I really like about this team, you guys. You got your superstar face of the team, John Morant, said, no, call 13. 13 is the guy that's getting it done and has gotten it done. And that really bodes well for the chemistry of this team going forward.
I think that the question with Jaren, the one thing that could work against him, and hopefully it won't matter in the context of the coaches are going to decide the reserves for the All-Stars. Hopefully they don't care about the stats as much. His rebounding numbers per game aren't huge, and the Grizzlies don't play their stars heavy minutes, and that depresses your game averages. But to me, it's simple with Jaren. He's the leading scorer on the 5th-ranked offense in the NBA, and at the exact same time, he's the best defensive player by far on the 6th-ranked defense in the NBA. There's just There may be players better. There are some players better. We just talked about one in Denver. But I don't know if there's anyone in the league who is having that kind of role on both ends of the floor at that level of team success. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
It's funny how this is complicated now because I think it's, for me at least, I can make an easier case for Jaren being All-NBA than I could for being All-Star, right? Because of the wonkiness of the voting and how guys are.
Yeah.
To me, when you talk about Anthony Davis' legacy, when you talk about LeBron James and where he is, and Jaren is having a better season than both of those guys individually, right?
But
in terms of impact on their particular team. Anthony Davis is putting up some incredible numbers, but I think Jaren's importance to this team has shown that, for him to be there every single night since the first 2 games of the season. But, it's a complicated, I feel like it should be a no-brainer discussion on Jaren being an all-star, and the all-star starters will be named Thursday, and then a week after that, the reserves will get named. He won't be a starter, but I do think you can make a strong case that he deserves to be an all-star. But I certainly agree with Ja that he's all-NBA. He's performing at an all-NBA level.
Well, if you look at the things he did, especially in the MLK Day game in the fourth quarter when he got the rebound, went behind his back, full court,
coast to coast,
and then got the layup, it's like, or no, got the little floater in the lane. It's like, this dude, man, he is a unicorn. I mean, how many guys at that height, and he's grown into his body now. His mind, all of his synapses are working from from the bottom of his feet up to the tips of his fingers. He's not just like that little deer or fawn that is all off balance trying to go in there. He's gotten used to himself now. He's gotten big and strong, and what he means, like his numbers, like even Ja's numbers have gone down, but the team's win total is going up because they're doing everything. They're not just doing one thing here. And I'm going to ask you this question before we go to one of our favorite segments on here. Do you think having the big kid, the big rookie in there, is now allowing Jaren to get back to doing more of what we thought he would be able to do when Steven Adams was in the middle?
I mean, they've been great when they played Jaren and Edey together, but they've been great with Jaren and just about everybody. Like I've always said, Jaren's the skeleton key. He unlocks whatever lineup you want to play. He just makes everything work because of his versatility. So I like the look of Jaren with the big center. I think that's always been a good look for the Grizzlies. But it looks good when Jaren plays with Santi Aldama or Brandon Clark, too. You know?
Oh, yeah. I think Jaren and Brandon Clark have the best numbers of anybody, and Brandon Clark's the smallest one of those. So, I mean, but hats off to Jaren. You have something to say.
No, I was just going to say that the most remarkable thing is that aside from that debacle in Sacramento where he picked up 6 fouls in one quarter, he's been, this has been his foul rate is way down. Right. He's able to keep himself in games for the most part now. He's able to keep himself in halves for the most part now. So, he's been able to do some great things. And that's the play right there that they're going to. That coast to coast right there at 7 foot doing that kind of thing, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this is what, we all knew Jaren had that kind of growth potential in his game. And now he's right there just entering the prime of what his powers are.
And so we hope that he keeps doing that and keeps it up. If he does, the Grizzlies look really good. But now it's time to go one of our favorite segments of the show. It's time to get into the mailbag, the Sonic mailbag. And one and only behind the glass, CJ, who's been keeping us on the air, has got the question of the week. CJ.
Sonic mailbag question of the week. It's time, Jarvis, for the Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week. Remember, if your question gets selected, we will read it off on air, and you will receive a $5 gift card to Sonic, where you can pair one of their new Flavorista favorites, the Strawberry Fusion Fizz or the Sour Dragon Fruit Sonic Recharge with Red Bull, with one of those delicious menu items from the $1.99 value menu. Special thank you to Montreal Jefferson. He's your winner for this week's Sonic Mailbag Question of the Week. Do you think that the Grizzlies can catch the Thunder for the #1 seed in the Western Conference? Jarvis, what say you?
Oh, can the Grizzlies catch it? Well, first of all, thank you for that injury. I think you had that Red Bull drink there. I know you got the $1.99 one. That's the speed of CJ. That's good, man. But I tell you what, can you catch the Thunder? Can anybody catch the Thunder right now? The Grizzlies, they'd have to go on one of these kind of streaks where they win 10 in a row and maybe drop a couple here and there. It's possible, but the Thunder are just playing so well, and they've got a pretty good lead. I don't know. What do you think, Chris Harris?
They do have 3 games left, I think, against the Thunder. So, sweeping those, the ones left would help. But not unless SGA, if SGA stays healthy, the answer is no.
You don't think so? You just straight off no. What about the great Michael Wallace?
I agree. Barring an injury to SGA or Jalen Williams, either one of those two, because even if you have SGA and you don't have Williams, I think that takes a big time. It deflates them a lot too. So they're just playing offensively, but more so defensively at a different level than anybody else in the league, right? So I don't even know if Boston or Cleveland would be able to catch them for the #1 overall seed at the rate that they're playing right now. And those two teams were in lockstep until Oklahoma City said, nah, y'all not going to do this to us again. So,
and the thing about it, they're playing without Chet. I mean, Chet has missed most of the season.
Yeah. I mean, he's not as big of a loss as people can make it out to be, right? I mean, Hardenstein has come in.
That was a big pickup for them in the offseason.
And really did it. Because I think Holmgren is really, really good, but I think he was still just trying to figure out where he was and how he fit in. They got bullied on the boards when he was on the court last year, and he was more of a weakness than he was a strength for them. But I think now with everybody in that picture, and if he can come back, they're going to be a tough out for sure.
So really quickly, what do you think it is about OKC that has made them, they've got good players around their roster, SGA and some of the other guys, but it seems to me like when the Grizzlies played them, that they tried to jump on the Grizzlies right away. And it looks like they come out jumping on teams right away. And they're not They're not playing or just we'll build it up and ramp it up as the game goes along.
There are different answers to that, but one thing I'll throw out there, look at the team that won the title last year, Boston. They put out Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Elite defenders all across the perimeter. OKC has got that. We talk about SGA, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Kassan Wallace, Jalen Williams. They have so many great defensive players on the perimeter in a league that's gone more perimeter-oriented. I think that's a big part of it.
Okay. Well, you think that would help the Grizzlies if you get Marcus Smart or Vince Williams or both?
I think they need at least one of those two, if not both. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does Gigi help him at all defensively on the wing? Because he's a big kid. He's 6'8", 6'9" out there, and he's got the
like
ability.
20 years old.
And he has to jump in front of so many guys right now that they trust a lot more. Like defensively, I think Taylor trusts Jake ahead of Gigi right now, defensively. Mm-hmm. Santi gives him a little bit more of a two-way presence than Gigi, especially if you're going to keep Gigi at the power forward, which is what he sort of cameoed in on the MLK game.
Right.
It's going to be tough to break through because I think Taylor trusts the four bigs, and maybe five that he has right now. But we'll see.
Shout out Jake. You know, he may be on the block. I don't know, but Jake has really played well in his time with the Grizzlies. All right, well, that's it for the first segment here on Grizz Beat. When we come back in the next segment, we hope to have a special guest for you, and we'll go around the NBA. A whole lot of news in the association. That's coming up next after the break.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Our fans have a huge impact on our ability to play to the level that we're striving for.
Drop off, Durant. Oh! Well, you wanted home crowd involvement.
I love those moments where you see our guys engaging in the fans, and the fans just get pumped up.
They are standing in FedEx Forum.
I would hate to be on the other side with the opposition when FedEx Forum's rolling. That's such an unbelievable relationship that our group has with our fans.
At the National Civil Rights Museum, history moves us forward. The question remains, how does history move you?
Keep on talking, marching up to freedom now. A night of comedy with Sebastian Maniscalco and Jim Gaffigan.
Now, is this a family? Is this your mother? Where is she? Is she in the crowd? You don't know where your mom is. The mom's up there. What kind of family is this? I'm sorry.
Sebastian Maniscalco and Jim Gaffigan.
I went ziplining for the last time. What is wrong with us? Would you pay $200 to feel like you're about to die 6 times?
Live in Memphis, FedEx Forum, Friday, February 21st. Get tickets now at LiveNation.com.
Hey, Grizz fans, let's get it crunk because it's going to be a family affair. See, Mary J. Blige and the Four-Mont Fans Tour arriving Sunday, February 2nd to FedEx Forum with guests Neo and Mario. That's going to be a great show. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com or FedEx Forum, the box office. Just come down here and pick up your tickets. Boy, it's going to be a great show. For full show details, just head to FedExForum.com.
Welcome back to Grizz Beat. For Jarvis Greer, Chris Harrington, and Michael Wallace. Man, we're having a great time on our show. And this segment right here is dedicated to going around the league. And right now, as we get set for the All-Star starters to be unveiled on Thursday and then the reserves to come thereafter that, you know, one guy is taking the NBA by storm in terms of the voting, at least, and it's LaMelo Ball. And the Charlotte Hornets had this video right here to promote his campaign.
LaMelo Ball? He as much watch TV as the waves.
He has scored 94 points in the last 2 years.
LaMelo, from a scoring standpoint, has taken a huge leap.
LaMelo got a different bag, dog. He's playing with a different confidence. I hope the league blesses him with an all-star
Well, you got to love it. And a guy that gets to see LaMelo, the LaMelo show every single night is my friend, my brother from another mother, Rod Boone of the Charlotte Observer, who covers the Charlotte Hornets. He's been doing it for a long time, one of the best beat writers we have in the NBA. Rod, welcome to Grizz Beat, and we want to go around the league with you, man. But first and foremost, man, welcome here. You avoided this trip because of the cold in Memphis. It's a one-game ouster for the Hornets. But listen, we just saw that clip of LaMelo. You got a chance to see him every single game. Is this real? Is this real? Is he really a 30-point per game scorer in the league, or is this just part of the show? And you still got questions about some of the substance.
You know what, Mike? It really is real. I think the thing is people haven't seen him because of a couple of reasons. Last couple seasons, for the most part, he's been hurt. He hasn't really had a full, really year since year 2 when he was an All-Star. So when you have that going on, when you have ankle injuries and you're missing games and teams not on national TV, nobody sees you, you're out of the playoffs every year, he kind of is out of the spotlight. But he's, for the most part, this year's been kind of, as you see, healthy. He's been injury-free in terms of making sure he goes out there and double for his team. So when you put that all together, health-wise, he's had the tools the entire time he came in the league since 2019, basically to 2020. He's been able to kind of come in here and do those things and do them, again, at a small clip because of his health. But now you're seeing it go in the right direction because, again, he can go out there and just be available for your team. The biggest thing you can be at this point of your career is available. And last few months or so, he's been that for the Hornets.
Rod, hey, it's Chris Harrington of the Daily Memphian. I know LaMelo and Ja, that's going to be the show tonight, but there's a guy on the undercard I'm interested in. That's Mark Williams, who's missed a lot of time early in his career. He was, injured to start the season, so maybe a lot of fans outside of Charlotte aren't familiar. Going up against the big front line, Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson. How's Mark Williams looked since he's been back?
He's looked really good, especially of late. The thing with him, again, just like LaMelo, we talked about him a few minutes ago, same with Mark Williams. He came to the league a little bit slow because they wanted to work him in G League, stuff like that. But then he got injured a little bit and hasn't had a chance to, again, show himself the last couple of years. So for the most part, again, for him, it's about health. Now he's actually getting his body back, his rhythm back. And to me, he's a walking double-double. He should get you at least minimum 10 points, 10 rebounds every night. And on top of that, he's a good pick-and-roll guy. He's a rim protector. Just an overall somebody you want there in the paint if you want to be able to be a good team and playoff worthy. So Mark Williams is somebody to keep an eye on for sure because he's changing the face of the Hornets on the interior. And once him and Melo get together a little bit more, that pick and roll synergy, they can be a little bit deadly out there for sure.
Jarvis Greer here. I want to ask you a little bit about this 3-game winning streak that the Hornets are on. How real is this? Are they starting to put this thing together now, especially since LaMelo looks like he's going to be healthy here for a minute, or is this another mirage for Charlotte?
That's a great question. I think we'll see a little bit more next couple of games here. But the Hornets have been, for the most part, in a lot of their ball games. They've had a couple games where they got blown away and they weren't, really into it the way they probably should have, starting off the way that Coach wants to start off there. But they are, for the most part, playing well. That's the biggest thing with these guys is they have the talent. You think about Brandon Miller, who obviously is out now with the injury. You have Josh Green as a defender guy in there. We talked about Mark Williams, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges. Again, when they were healthy, you got off the bench Trey Mann. So the Hornets have talent. It's just about, again, their health. So I think lately you're seeing them out there a little bit healthier than normal. So I won't say it's a mirage because, again, they've been playing well previously, but you want to see them be a little bit more sustained because after this game tonight in Memphis, they have a lot of home games back here in home coming up. So if they can get a little bit of a run here, kind of figure out what they have moving forward, it'll benefit them long term because if you're Jeff Pearson, the president of basketball operations for the Hornets, you want to be able to figure out who is going to be with you moving forward past the trade deadline, and who should be somebody you make available to make your team better long term.
Rod, I was just going to ask you that, and I got a couple more for you before we let you go, man. Is this team, because of the record, obviously, I don't know how much they have to do to get back into that play-in mix or if that's even a goal of theirs. Are they buyers or sellers at this trade deadline as it approaches? And then secondly, I want to ask you, as the first part of my two-part question, is Miles Bridges. You brought him up. This is sort of a reclamation season for him after some off-the-court issues derailed him last year. Where is he in terms of the mix with this team as it moves forward?
Great questions, Mike. I think at this point, if you ask me, the Hornets probably would be sellers, only because, as you saw last week, they traded off Nick Richards, a backup center who could obviously help them moving forward. But you figure if you get a bigger return asset-wise for somebody who you can replace maybe in the draft or maybe moving forward in free agency a year from now, you go ahead and do that. So I think they'll do something similar. They can figure out different pieces that may not, again, be the right fit here long-term, but you can maybe get a first-round draft pick, second rounder for these guys. You're going to do that because right now they're not in position to make the play-in tournament. They're just a little bit too far out of it. They kind of got them things going a little bit too late here. So if you're the Hornets right now, you're probably thinking about 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere there in terms of position for the draft coming up. So why, if you're trying to actually build a thing a little bit longer, have a short-term goal as a carrot, which is like a play-in tournament game. So they want to be able to make this thing work long-term. So they're going to be able to go out there and be sellers and figure out who, again, makes sense for them to move forward, who they can go out there and get the most for in return. In terms of Miles Bridges, he kind of fits here, again, with this team because thinking about it, last year, he could have went somewhere last year if he really wanted to. He was out there trade-wise, but he wants to still be here because he likes it here in Charlotte. He feels like the Hornets stuck behind him when he has stuff going off the court that obviously people were kind of figuring out what was he all about, question marks. And then you have LaMelo Ball, one of his best friends here. Those guys have just a great synergy out there in the basketball court in terms of their ability to make plays with each other. So when you put that all together, it's tough to see how he can – again, he can be moved long-term to kind of make things better for the Hornets, or short-term, he's still going to be good with them to be able to have that synergy with LaMelo Ball. So Miles is the person to watch because he probably has the most value in terms of what you can bring back if you're a Hornet. So, but he fits here as well with the team overall. So, man, watching him blossom and what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks here will be very interesting.
Started you off on a LaMelo Ball question. I want to end you off on the same thing. There's been some debate on TNT, ESPN, with LaMelo claiming that all-star starter position, right? He's going to get voted in, obviously, unless something crazy happens with the vote. And it's already closed. The ballots have already closed, and it'll be announced on Thursday. But who gets left out because he gets positioned in? There's talk in Cleveland about Darius Garland. You can only probably get one of those two guys in that backcourt in. There's some other talk about Boston and so, even a guy like Brunson with the Knicks. I mean, so some guys are some guy that's probably all-star worthy clearly is going to be left off just because it's a numbers game. What have you heard about that, and what do you see this impacting in terms of the East?
Well, you're right. That's a tough one, Mike, because a lot of guys out there who are worthy. Look at Donovan Mitchell. He obviously is right behind LaMelo Ball in terms of the voting, and he's on one of the best teams, obviously, in the East in terms of the best record. So you got to figure out they should have at least one guy in the backcourt, and you're right. So does that mean no Darius Garland? Obviously, you mentioned Jalen Brunson. Knicks are having a really good season. The synergy with Jalen Brunson and, Cat out there, Karl-Anthony Towns has been really good so far, these guys' first year together. So Jalen Brunson was probably worthy of an all-star starter nomination last year. So to me, it's tough, man. It's one of those things where it's a good problem to have because you won't be able to have really good guard play and people you want to be able to see grow the game for years to come. But sometimes, man, you got to have changed up a little bit. So maybe even though maybe a Darius Garland, those kind of guys are worthy, even maybe a Trae Young, if you want to look at terms of what he's done stat-wise. But LaMelo Ball, again, he hasn't had in terms of wins and losses what you would like in terms of what maybe you see from an all-star starter. But the guy's a breath of fresh air. So it's one of those things where somebody gets left off because maybe LaMelo kind of gets in there. I think, obviously, being in this market myself and watching him play, I think fans who haven't seen him play because sometimes he's been injured or resting in a back-to-back, like, he will be something you want to actually see this game and market, in my mind. So even though it stinks, somebody will get left out. I think if LaMelo obviously makes, as you mentioned, which barring something crazy, he will, it will be a good thing, not only for this market, but also for the NBA trying to market a young star who has a lot of charisma going forward.
What also will be a good thing is getting Rod Boone to San Francisco so he can cover LaMelo Ball at the All-Star break, man. I know we've covered plenty of All-Stars. I know that's not something that you need to do again, but it'll be great to get a fresh voice and a fresh face in the All-Star mix for the NBA and LaMelo Ball. Rod, thanks a lot for joining us, man. We got to do this again real soon. We definitely appreciate you joining us here on Grizz Beat. And we're going to keep it rolling because now we're going to look over at the Western Conference All-Star reserves. And I challenge these fellas up here to give me what their ballot would look like. Obviously, we know what the starters are projecting to be for the East and the West, but specifically for the West, how does it shake out? And the way we did it, I did 6 forwards, front court players, 6 back court players, but these guys will get to defend how they position them and maybe some people that might get left off that they would like to get in there. So, Jarvis, we'll start with yours. Who are your 6 front court and 6 back court players for the Western Conference All-Star lineup?
Okay, let's put the graphic up there and let's see what it looked like. This is what I said. I had Shea, of course, and I had Jalen Green in the backcourt. I think from Houston because he has just really been on a tear this year. He's got all the talent in the world. He's long, he's lanky. He went on a 42-point heater against the Grizzlies the last time they put, but he had 6 straight 30-point games before that. And you keep looking around. Anthony Edwards, Kyrie is up there. I still like De'Aaron Fox because he's still got the speed. He can still roll, and of course Devin Booker with Phoenix is good enough to play as an all-star, in my opinion. You want me to keep going with the front court now?
Yeah, you just go. You just pick out a couple.
Roll
just
on
pick out a
through.
couple.
Of course,
Yep.
well, Jokic is the one in the middle, of course, and then LeBron because he's LeBron. Wembanyama has earned it, I think, with his averaging 4 blocks a game, and he can score inside, outside. He can score at every level. Jaren Jackson Jr. is an all-star, in my opinion, and I'm going to take that to my grave. I hope I don't have to go there, but I think that he has played well enough, and everybody around the league has had a chance to see him. You heard Rod Boone say that the Hornets hadn't been on national TV that much. The Grizzlies haven't either, but fans in other arenas have seen him, and they know what he can do. And then, of course, Anthony Davis is going to get votes, and Durant is going to get votes. And what else can you say about that?
No question about it. I think it's just hard because as we try to pencil in, certain guys with the Grizzlies, particularly Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. all being promoted for All-Star, but it's just going to be tough to get more than one of those guys in there. As we go to my ballot, I agree with you in a lot of ways right there. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry are locks for the starters right there. Luka Doncic will probably get put in even though injuries have derailed him for a nice chunk of games. James Harden is the guy for me that I think should get more respect for what he's been able to do to keep the Clippers afloat. Jalen Green, you got to put someone from Houston, and I would go Jalen Green over Şengün only because I have to get Jaren Jackson in the front court.
That's correct.
So I'm going to go backcourt with Jalen Green from that standpoint. And Anthony Edwards. And then when you look at my front court guys, all of the regulars are in there. Victor Wembanyama is the guy that is going to get voted. He's going to get in. He might not get voted in because that's Jokic, LeBron, and Kevin Durant, but Victor Wembanyama is an all-star in this league. And then Jalen Williams, you got to get 2 Oklahoma City players up there. He deserves it from that standpoint. Chris, you're up.
Sorry to do this, but y'all know Jalen Green doesn't always play against the Grizzlies, right?
Well, that's true.
Yeah, he's being sarcastic. He's being sarcastic. He's an absolute Grizz killer this year.
He's had a really good year. Yeah, he has been a Grizz killer.
So here we go. So my picks. You can put an asterisk next to Luka Doncic and Ja Morant on my ballot, and I'll explain why in a second. To me, Shea and Steph and Edwards are sort of easy picks in the backcourt. I went with Kyrie Irving as the 4th guard. I think, the amount he's played and how well he's played. The guard thing is tough in the West to me because Luka and Ja have missed so many games. But I just think they're just better than the other guys. I think they're better than Fox, better than Booker, better than Jalen Green, better than Fred VanVleet. But the actual All-Star team, you don't actually have to have 6 guards. You can do 4 guard because it's 2 wild card spots. So you could do 4 guards and 8 front court, which is probably what I would reluctantly do and take Luka and Ja off at the end. But I would rather see Luka and Ja on that team than Booker, Fox, and Green. I just think they're better players, and they've contributed more to winning when they played this season, but they missed a lot of games. In the front court, Jokic, Wemby, to me, are locks. I think Jaren, I talked about that earlier in the show, Jaren, his two-way impact, to me, he would be my 3rd starter in the front court. I think Davis, Durant, Jalen Williams, I had an easy time with those 6 guys. And if I had to take Luka and Ja off because of the minutes played, I would go 2 front court players. I go LeBron and Şengün.
I totally agree. I mean, I had Luka, and when I sent those in to you, the great Michael Wallace, who you compiled the list, I had Luka in parentheses there because he missed a lot of games, and I don't know if and of course, Ja, he just hadn't qualified. He won't. He won't.
Well, he can qualify because this one doesn't have anything to do with injuries. That's the All NBA at the end of the season.
NBA, yeah.
So if Luka's qualified, Ja's qualified.
Yeah, Ja's played more games than Luka, and he will play more games presumably than Luka by the time we get to the All-Star game.
I think the biggest threats, and we'll shift to one more thing before we go to break here. I think the biggest threats to Jaren's possible getting in is Jalen Williams, because you might have to get 2 from Oklahoma City because they've run so far away from everyone else, and then Şengün. That's going to be tough because depending on how the coaches look at it, if the coaches are reluctant to put Jalen Green in for Houston, they got to put Şengün in. And that's another big that puts him in front of.
Well, there's another guy none of us had on our team. Yeah. And the real contrast with Jaren is the stat line versus the impact. Jaren's got the impact. Domantas Sabonis puts up crazy stats.
Yes. And he's done that for 2 seasons now. Right. He was one of those guys. He made All-NBA third team last year, didn't make the All-Star game. So sometimes, like I said, it's easier to qualify a guy for All-NBA than it is for All-Star because of the variables that go into the voting. Speaking of qualifying for an award, we'll wrap up this segment on this one right here. NBA.com just today released its latest rookie rankings ladder right there. And as you can see, Alexander Sarr with the Washington Wizards is holding on to the number 1 spot. Stephon Castle moved up to number 2, and Jalen Wells is holding steady at number 3. Now, I love all these guys at NBA.com, especially Steve Ashburner. He's a vet. He's been doing this for a long time. But I got a bone to pick, man. I feel like
we all have a bone to pick.
And it's not just because we're here in Memphis, but I feel like the tide outside of Memphis is going to find every reason in the world not to put Jalen Wells as the Rookie of the Year frontrunner again because of where he was picked at number 39. When you see Sarr, Castle, and then Wells, what do you think, Jarvis?
When I see Sarr, Castle, and Wells, I'm looking at impact on winning. I like Stephon better than I do Sarr. Because the Spurs are they're not a bad team. The Wizards, come on now. I mean, somebody's got to play and somebody's got to score. And then you look at what Jalen Wells has done for Memphis. He has made an impact on a winning team. He's started more. He's got more starts, I think, and more points than any of the other rookies. Basically combined. I mean, what he's done out there has just been amazing. Nobody saw this guy coming. You did, because you said he had the best 3-point stroke on the team, and you said that in the preseason. Of course, you're out there with the team. You can see him a little bit more than the rest of us can, but we weren't out at Washington State or Sacramento State or Sonoma State, wherever it was he was. And so what the kid has done has just been nothing short of amazing to me.
I think sometimes a Rookie of the Year, unlike the other awards, some voters can have an instinct to think about what's going to look good 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And you factor that in. Like, are we really going to look up in 5 years and we gave the second-round guy a Rookie of the Year when he's not going to be the best player in the class long-term, probably? But the thing is, even if you wanted to put Sarr number 1 in a redraft, like projecting forward, he's not a sure thing. Like that may not look good 5 years from now either, right? And so, to me, he's been force-fed a lot of minutes on the worst team in the league. And so he's putting up numbers. But when you talk about good contributions in the context of more meaningful basketball, I think Jalen Wells is number 1 on that list right now. But Stephon Castle, you could make an argument for, too. But to me, Sarr, that's not a good argument.
Yeah, it's not. And I think a lot of the pundits are trying to save face because Reese Shea is just sort of with Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Reed Shepherd's not even playing at number 3. He went number 3.
A lot of people think that the Grizzlies should have taken him.
Right?
Edie's missed a lot of games.
Edie's missed a lot of games from that standpoint. So you really don't have a star rookie at this point. Jalen Wells, if he can hold on if he does win Rookie of the Year, he will be the lowest drafted second-round pick to ever win Rookie of the Year. Only one other time has a second-round pick won Rookie of the Year. Anybody got a guess?
Malcolm Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon in 2017. Yeah. He was drafted 2 spots ahead of Jalen Wells at 37 when he went to Milwaukee in that draft. So that's that right there, man. So plenty more to debate. There's always going to be storylines in the NBA, and Grizz Beat will have them covered. When we come back, we'll take a look back at our MLK celebration and how our players celebrated the weekend with a visit to the National Civil Rights Museum. When we come back on Grizz Beat.
Our fans have a huge impact on our ability to play to the level that we're striving for.
Drop off, Durant. Oh! Well, you wanted home crowd involvement.
I love those moments where you see our guys engaging in the fans, and the fans just get pumped up.
They are standing in FedEx Forum.
I would hate to be on the other side with the opposition when FedEx Forum's rolling. That's such an unbelievable relationship that our group has with our fans.
Memphis Cat is back with his Heaven on Earth tour.
I tried to be incognito, but thanks to Shannon Sharp's loud mouth, the gig is up.
February 22nd in the FedEx Forum.
In my spare time, I infiltrate the Illuminati, look for their secrets, run back, tell y'all.
Don't miss this year's most talked about comedy icon live. He's back with brand new material, an unmatched wit, and an electrifying performance. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st. And you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
Memphis, shoot your shot. Hey, let's see, to score a VIP experience to Tony Allen's jersey retirement night. Wow, that's going to be a big one. Enter the Grindfather Getaway Sweepstakes. Grindfather Getaway Sweepstakes, like that, presented by I Love Memphis blog. It's now through January 31st, and you could win 2 nights at the Grand Central Hotel right here in downtown Memphis. 2 tickets to Grizzlies versus Heat, that big game on March 15th. You get access to Tony's VIP post-ceremony reception and more. See number 9, the Grindfather. Go into the rafters in style and enter today at grizzlies.com/Grindfather. Wow, the Grindfather Getaway. That's going to be such a huge night. And Tony Allen just has been beside himself. We've seen him around town here at several events, and he can't wait to see that jersey rise to the rafters here at FedEx Forum. Now, let's talk about the week ahead for the Grizzlies. Got 4 games this week, including 3 at home. Take a look at your screen. It's got the Charlotte Hornets. That's coming up tonight with LaMelo Ball. Wow, 1.9 million votes. He is the leading vote getter in the Eastern Conference for the All-Star game. You'll see him tonight in action. Coming up on Friday, the New Orleans Pelicans come to Memphis, and Zion is back in the lineup. Maybe he'll play, maybe he won't, but he has played some and looked really fabulous in some of the games he's played this year, but the team is really not doing that well. The Utah Jazz come in for the first time. That is on a Saturday right here at FedEx Forum, so 3 games in a row in Memphis at the Grind House. And then the Grizz go on the road Monday for a 6:30 game. That'll be at the New York Knicks, and the Knicks are one of those teams that really can jump up and bite anybody in the league. They've got a lot of good players, but with the 3 straight at home against teams toward the bottom of the standings in Charlotte, New Orleans, and Utah, Chris Harrington, this could be a run for the Grizzlies right here. What do you think?
Yeah, like I said earlier, they're on a 3-game win streak right now. They can make it a 6 pretty easily and really have some good momentum. And to the point Michael made earlier, like only half a game behind Houston. You win 3 in a row, you may look up and you're back in that second slot.
And that'd be a good thing. And Michael Wallace, you've been on the road with the Grizzlies. They're at home now. Mm-hmm. And like I say, the Grizzlies have 28 wins now. They only won 27 all year last year. And, you know, it was a total reversal in the home road because the Grizzlies were one of the best home teams in the league the year before. They were one of the worst teams at home. Now they're starting to get that train back rolling here at the Grindhouse.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's remarkable. I think the 3rd best record in the West at home or something like that. They're top 3 somewhere. In terms of their home record, and you need that. You need to be able to count on what you can do at home, especially as you're trending towards a top 4 seed. You know, you want to protect home court advantage at all costs, you got to win these kind of games to do so, right? Now, are they capable of a hiccup every now and then? Absolutely. But we're starting to see that those are far and few between now, right? Like, they know why they lose games at this point. It's not a mystery anymore. They've addressed the turnover issues that have haunted them in recent games, and now they just have to be consistent. Now the stretch here is for consistency. And you take care of home right here, and then you go into a big-time game at New York on Monday against the much-improved Knicks as well, too.
Yeah, you got the Knicks, Chris, and that Knicks game coming up Monday night. There's always the big crowd at Madison Square Garden, the mecca of basketball, of course, world's most famous arena. But the Grizzlies have played fairly well in New York, but the Knicks, man, it's just something about that team that they have the pieces that could beat anybody, and this will be definitely a challenge for.
It's an interesting contrast. I was actually looking at this earlier, looking at All-Star stuff. Karl-Anthony Towns is averaging 34.9 minutes per game for the Knicks. That's fifth on the team. That's 5 more minutes a game than the most played Grizzly. It's a real depth versus a lean into the starters kind of thing. It'll be an interesting contrast.
Yeah, when you look at that, that's Tibbs, right? I mean, he plays his guy. He plays his guys a lot,
and they wore out in that second round, right?
Yes, they did.
That team
they were worn down.
They had the ability to get to the conference finals or whatever, and it eventually just caught up to them. And you would hope that something can happen for Tibbs' sake, that he doesn't run these guys into the ground over the stretch run of the season.
And before we get into our video segment, really quickly, the Grizzlies, Coach Taylor Jenkins, he's ramped up the minutes here lately on some of the starters we've seen here. I think Jaren played the whole fourth quarter in the MLK Day game, and Ja's minutes are going up, Chris.
Yeah, I think they're going to slowly inch towards what a playoff rotation might look like. They're still going to keep the minutes down. That's their philosophy. That's what they do. But when you get playoff time, these guys aren't going to be playing 29 minutes a game. Jaren did. They're going to be playing 35, 36, 37. Yeah. Right. So I think they're going to slowly ramp up to get ready for that.
And it's one thing that you've got the luxury to be able to do that with having the depth that the Grizzlies do, where you can you can get that slow ramp up to get them ready to go. Now, of course, this week we had the big MLK game here at FedEx Forum, the 23rd annual. It's such a great event that was started originally by the Grizzlies' original owner, Michael Heisley, when he worked out a deal with the NBA to say, look, if you're doing MLK games, why not do one here in Memphis? Because it makes all the sense in the world with the National Civil Rights Museum here. And, of course, the Grizzlies players got a chance to tour the National Civil Rights Museum as part of the festivities during MLK Week. And let's take a look at what the players got to see.
I just want to welcome you here. It's the oldest civil rights museum in the country.
I've been to a lot of museums in my life, and this one is just very raw.
My experience today was super powerful.
Every time I go here, I feel like it's always something new.
You see it a lot in books.
We always talk about a sanitation strike. And the reason this is so close to my heart is, when I look at this picture right here, this is my grandfather right here.
But, the courage and bravery they had.
They had, the Pettus Bridge. That was probably the coolest thing I saw.
Martin Luther King is such a big figure. I just kind of sat there and just listened to his speech.
Going out on the balcony was definitely a very impactful feeling, being in the place that Martin Luther King lost his life and just to see it and soak it all in.
I think Memphis embodies the privilege of being a person of color in this country, with the Civil Rights Museum being here and the way that Memphis has wrapped their arms around the museum and brought the story to light is tremendous.
It's really something that the way that the city and the team has been able to turn a negative into a positive. Of course, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. here, April 4, 1968. And now the National Civil Rights Museum is right there on the grounds where he took his last breath. And it's something to have here in Memphis and to cherish, and the rest of the league, people around the world have really gravitated to this point. They know what it is here. And Chris, you actually grew up in Arkansas, right?
So I grew up in the general area.
In the general area.
I've been to the museum many times. It's an incredible place, and it's even more so than it used to be. Early on, it really was focused on the 50s and the 60s and the Martin Luther King lifespan of the civil rights movement. But they did a renovation several years ago. They go much further back, and they go much further ahead, and it's a much more comprehensive view, and it's an amazing place.
Yeah, you've been, of course, Michael Wallace, and of course, you're not a native Memphian, but you've been here now for a long time, and you even covered Ole Miss there for a while before you got into the NBA. So you've seen a lot of things in your travels, and it's still an inspirational thing to see.
It is, and every year that we do this, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be involved in our programming and planning and, panels that we put on and all of those things for MLK Celebration Weekend. And even up to this point, like when I went in there this time, I had a chance to see Tommy Smith. And
Tommy Jet Smith,
when
Olympian.
he went through and saw the image of his protest in '68, and then he mimicked it himself. Like, that was the most powerful thing that I've seen in a long time. And tears flowed down his eyes as he said, "Look, I'm making history. I am history, and this is still what we're going through." And to see how much that impacted him, when all of us look at that statue and we're impacted by it, man, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking back about it, man. So powerful, powerful moment.
Yeah, powerful thing, and I would encourage anyone that has a chance in Memphis, if you ever come through Memphis downtown, go over and check it out. It's really something to see, and it's something you can take the kids to, and it's a wonderful thing. And it's great that we've got the NBA behind what they're doing here in Memphis, and the Grizzlies taking part in this. And of course, the Grizzlies on the court got a big week. 4 games coming up this week, basically 3 games right here at FedEx Forum, including tonight against the Charlotte Hornets at 7 o'clock. Hope to see you there. We're glad to have Chris Harrington coming down from Minneapolis to be in town with us. And Chris, you're going to be here for a little while, right?
I'll be here for a few weeks. Thanks for having me back.
All right,
it's a pleasure.
good. Yeah, and of course, the great Michael Wallace, the guru of Grind City Media. And will you be on the call tonight?
No, I won't be on the call, but I'll be in the building. Check out the warm-up show on Grind City Media at 6 o'clock, an hour before tip. Me and Lang will get you set with all the courtside action.
Okay, and I'll be there with my wife in our season ticket spots. We're going to be yelling, going crazy for the Grizzlies. We will see you in the place tonight, 7 o'clock, Grizzlies and the Hornets at FedEx Forum. And we'll see you right here next week, 2 o'clock on Grind City Media. Everybody have a great evening.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of Grizzbeat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.
Hey, that's it. I just want to say thanks again, brother. Good job, man.